Oh, hello. Yes, I thought I'd share with you today a piece in the Pink News, which I think is actually very good. I made the mistake once again of watching Toby Young this afternoon on Talk Radio, banging on about his favourite subject, which is trans issues in universities. He does like it. However, in terms of free speech issues, we don't really get to hear other voices. We get to hear voices of the victims, what are being bullied by the trans people, but we don't hear from other people. And the piece in the Pink News, I think, is a really, really good piece. Kudos to them for publishing. I'm just going to quote it, so links down below. Alex Sharp is a barrister and a law professor at the University of Warwick. She's at pains to point out her experience of being a trans person in academia is not particularly representative, because she was a professor when she transitioned. I can understand early career scholars being concerned about it. That's being open about being trans in this current environment, she says. This current environment. Several trans academics, more junior than Alex, were reluctant to speak about their experiences at work when contacted by Pink News, citing fears of negative reaction from colleagues or unintended impacts on future job opportunities. Yeah, you don't really know what's going to happen in the future, do you? With voices like Toby's around. And it continues. While Alex may be in an atypical position, it means she's confident in speaking about her experiences publicly. I have more voice than many, she says. Most trans people don't have any voice. Them's the bullies, the masked ones that stand around being bullies. Them. Alex thinks people working in academia are, quote, not generally hostile to trans people, but many of them are quite naive about the political situation in which trans people find themselves. Most are unwilling to do the work required to understand this situation, and some are more interested in maintaining a virtuous self-image as champions of free speech and so forth, than they are about thinking through complex relationships of power. Now, complex relationships of power are something that left-wing academics are really good at. Okay, it's one of the things that training in Marxist thought will give you, an understanding of complex relationships of power. Something Toby Young, minor aristocrat, white heterosexual bloke, really doesn't get at all. Let's move on. Anyway, I can remember a time when transphobia was a less present concern, especially on university campuses. Young people entering university today know nothing else. Their teenage years have coincided with a war of attrition waged by our media against their very being. A war of attrition, Talk Radio et al. Yeah? Telling people over and over and over again that their existence is unreal and they're not wanted. Who's the bully? And in the face of this onslaught, they are far from reassured by academics who appear to care more about their lofty principles than human dignity and the ability to thrive. Now, part of the arguments of the students at the University of Sussex was that they weren't being made to feel safe, but that was completely dismissed by the likes of Toby Young et al. Completely dismissed. Why? Because they are completely dismissed. Let's move on, shall we? Yeah, the next one is about Stephen Whittle. The next person they quote directly is a guy called Stephen Whittle, who's at Manchester Metropolitan University. And when Stephen was an undergraduate student at the University of Sussex, ring any bells, he was outed by the dean of the university. He called me into his office and said, "Why did you lie in your application form?" Stephen remembers. I said, "What?" The dean had read the name of the school Stephen had put down in his application and realised that it was a girls' school. I said, "Well, it's because I'm trans." Within hours, it was everywhere, even though I'd asked him very specifically not to disclose. Yeah, brilliant. It's not been an easy ride for anybody, he admits, the university included. Early at his time at MMU, students shout abuse at him during lectures or walk out and refuse to be taught by him. Yes, bullying behaviour. But not by trans people, you notice. Asked if he thinks these things would still happen today, he says yes. People still try to out Stephen to his students all the time, with limited effect, as one of the first things he does with new students is tell them that he's trans, to get it out of the way. If they've got questions, they can ask me, instead of talking rubbish behind my back, he says. One time an electrician came into the classroom. He waited until the students came out, and then told them all, did they know their teacher was really a woman? He said, of course. He told us in our first lecture. Anyway, yeah, I'll post a link to the piece down below. I think it's a very good piece, and I think once again, power relationships. When we hear a lot about bullies, and to my way of thinking, I think Toby Young's a bully. I think the man's a disgrace, total disgrace. Sorry if I sound angry. Feeling it on that one. Feeling it.